For the first time since the mid to late 1990s, people are seriously discussing instituting national standards and tests in America's K through 12 education. To gather input on how a system of national standards and tests might be designed, the Fordham Foundation convened a bipartisan panel of prominent experts. From the panel's deliberation, 4 distinct approaches to national standards and tests became evident. To present the 4 approaches to national standards and tests will be 3 students in Dr. Arnold's Global Studies Comparative Education class. The students will outline each approach and evaluate the likelihood that each approach would, in the race to the bottom, result in rigorous standards rather than merely political ones, expand Washington roles in education, and prove politically feasible.
The first approach is called the whole enchilada.
The whole enchilada basically can be defined as the federal government enforcing national standards and assessments rather than it being determined state by state. And this system is actually what occurs in a lot of other countries. And it's considered the purest model of national standards, but it's also risky in that you constantly have different politics involved. With the change in, political standings like Republican or Democrat, that would also have an effect on, how these national standards are changed throughout the time. And, some of the issues that are, some of the ways to address some of the issues are having a specific board within the federal government to be in charge of keeping a consensus within the standards rather than just having it go back and forth between the different political parties.
Okay. The question is, will the summary that Brittany just said end our race to the bottom? The answer is absolutely yes. If the nation provided a uniform educational plan to all 50 states, then there would be no chance for each state to either dumb down its requirements, to boost its score, or for them to fudge, as the article says, fudge their scores at all, which would make them look better, which has been known to happen in the past. So our plummet to the bottom, they're trying to cheat their way to the top, but with a national plan, they wouldn't be able to do that because it wouldn't be in their control.
Okay, will the results be in rigorous standards is my question. And the answer is maybe. Basically, it spoke about whether the government should be the ones who decided the standards or if they should not. Some of the articles had people speaking, such as Cynthia Brown. She talked about how the government should speak with people who are actual educators and who are in the classroom every day and get to see whether the requirements are able to be met or just completely outrageous. And she also speaks about maybe having either the NGA program or the ECS program decide the decisions about what the standards should be. And the NGA program stands for National Governor Association, and the ECS program stands for the Education Commission States. And then one of the people that actually agreed with the government choosing the standards said that maybe they could just do it in a different type of way. Maybe they should decide the standards by different things besides just tests, such as how many kids actually graduate, or how many kids go to college, or what their attendance rate is at that school.
And is it likely to lead to an expanded federal role in education? Clearly it would if the federal government or a board within the federal government is controlling national standards and assessments. And for some of the reasons that I had said before, there's a lot of skepticism with if that were to happen. Jean Hickok writes, "I think there is a general discomfort with the national government, Congress, the executive branch, some bureaucratic organizations setting academic standards, and for good reason. Most people just don't think the government is qualified to do this sort of thing. He's also talking about, you know, the issue of if the federal government is controlling the national standards and assessments, are there any actual educators and people that are knowledgeable in the field having a say in the national standards? And Cynthia Brown writes that the U.S. is too big to federalize the control of education. Voluntary national standards and a few national tests will move the country to greater uniformity and curriculum content at a higher quality level. No one is arguing for a federally run school system. It couldn't be done. So although if it were to happen, it would expand, you know, the role of federal government in education. It isn't, you know, necessarily liked by a lot of people. So, and is it likely to prove politically feasible? No, because you have the change, you know, the constant change of, you know, political parties getting involved, and so if you have that involved in the standards, then that would constantly change back and forth, so it would cause some problems.
Also, the special interest groups and lobbyists would come in and try to impose their will on the education system to try to make the curriculum the way that they would want it.